Hey, I'm Jack. Welcome to the Security Breakdown. Today we're going to be talking about fuel retail under siege. We're talking about why South African petrol stations are getting bombed. Matt's going to be speaking to Anastasia Pelser. She's a data analyst with the Petroleum Security Initiative in South Africa. Before we start, I'd just like to say we are pleased to announce our first sponsor for the Security Breakdown, Skills for Security. Skills for Security are the UK's leading apprenticeship provider for fire and security sector. They offer flexible and innovative programs with a broad reach across the entire UK. With a new curriculum and modern training centre, they're set up to provide training and support for a new generation of fire and security professionals, and we're proud to have them as our sponsor.
Hello and welcome to the Security Breakdown, and we're joined by our second ever guest, which I'm really excited about. It is Anastasia Pelser, who is an intelligence analyst at the Petroleum Security Initiative for Online Intelligence. Online Intelligence Pty Limited is a market leader in software and services, providing end-to-end, highly configurable and integrated solutions. The company specializes in enterprise risk, security management, incident and investigative case management, which is easy for me to say, but not many, and event alarm monitoring. So it was established in 2001 as a partnership, rapidly grew and became a Pty Limited in 2003. And today, Online Intelligence is a global leader in enterprise risk solutions, offering clients comprehensive integrated solutions tailored to their unique needs. So there's your introduction, Anastasia. How did I do?
Very well, very well. Good day, Matt.
Cool. Yeah, good day to you too. So I was just thinking back to when we met, which was it was last year, wasn't it, at the Retail Risk? And I saw you presenting, you gave a compelling presentation about something that kind of really shook me back, really, about bombings on petrol stations, targeting cash. And I think I came over to you and went, what the hell? People are actually using explosives in petrol filling stations. Are they crazy? And you were like, it's kind of normal here. So could you tell us a bit about that thing that shocked me so much at the time?
Yeah, so just before we start, I just want to give a little bit background as to how I fit in and how it operates. Sure. So I represent the Petroleum Security Initiative, or better known as PSI, and we represent the 6 major oil companies in South Africa, and we are mandated then to collect and analyze all violent crime types that happen at their fuel retail sites in South Africa. And then PSI is an analytics project of Online Intelligence, so that's how everything fits together. And then going back to the Retail Risk Conference and what I presented there is that when we look at our statistical overview from 2018 to 2023, and we look only at our bombing incidents. So that would be your ATM bombings and then your cash management system bombings. We had a 3-fold increase since 2018 to 2023. We ended the year of 2023 with over 300 bombing incidents at our fuel retail sites. And then I know that this, although this is a very large statistic, we even see that this is not only a number that influences us on a statistical basis, but this also represents the lives of the fuel retailers and businesses that are disrupted and destroyed. And we see that community members are often left bearing the brunt of the aftermath of the bombing incidents as well. And then just going into the heart of the issue is our province, which is Gauteng. So it is South Africa's economic powerhouse, and this is where most of our violent acts are occurring. So it accounts for 47.03% of all our bombing incidents since 2018 to 2023. And this concentration in part is due to the large fuel retail footprint in the province. as well. And it's important to understand that within South Africa, we face a lot of challenges, especially within the Gauteng province, because it is so densely populated. And our law enforcement struggles to then get to the different areas within the province due to the densely population of our province and the dense number of incidents.
Yeah. I did have that question because, I remember again when we first met and you were saying that it was all in the Gauteng area, and I was thinking, well, why is it all there? But you've kind of answered that because densely populated, economic powerhouse, so there's a high concentration of fuel stations.
Yeah.
But I think another question, because this issue to us here in the UK, we can't compute it. It's completely alien to us. We don't suffer at that level, that kind of attack of that vector. And I think the question is, well, what is driving that kind of attack? All right, there's lots of petrol filling stations there, but how is that becoming an attack mode, if that makes sense?
Okay, so I think for us to understand the crime landscape of the fuel retail industry within South Africa, again, speaking to the accessibility of the site. So we have approximately 4,500 fuel retail sites nationally, with a lot of that then obviously populated within the Gauteng province. And the fuel stations within our country obviously focuses on that on-the-go convenient services for its customers. And then that just creates that growing demand for the consumers to have services at their fingertips just like this. And within South Africa, that translates to an increase of cash. And that speaks to the motive of why the perpetrators target us as the petroleum industry from a retail perspective. So when we look at our sites within the petroleum industry, accessibility speaks to a lot of the issues we are facing. So we also have a lot of mining cities and towns within South Africa, and that speaks to the accessibility of explosives within the country. And that obviously plays back into then high risk, high reward environment, which is what the fuel retail industry provides to the perpetrators. And we all know cash is king, and that is the main motivator behind these attacks.
I understand, yeah. So high concentration of cash, access to explosives, sort of generates that kind of opportunity for attack, if that makes sense.
Definitely.
So tell me a little bit more about what you, in your role as an intelligence analyst, are trying to do. I mean, some of it might sound like a stupid question, really, because obviously you'll be gathering data and analysing that, but just give us like a flavour of what's the target, how is that data going to help in driving down this pervasive crime?
So within the PSI realm of, and our mandate is obviously to collect and analyze all data regarding violent crime types at fuel stations. So we focus on three things within the PSI project. The first one is improved analytics. So we will look at the profiling aspect, we will look at link analysis and in-depth data analysis. Then the second part of our approach is collaboration. And then the third part is disruption. So just going into the analytics space of it is that we, with all of the information and the data we gather, we aim to provide valuable insights to the decision makers. So that would be your security heads, private security, and even law enforcement. And then we provide feedback with regards to, for example, high-risk areas, MO of the perpetrators, how they operate and why they target certain sites. So looking at the risk assessment of that site and going into what are the vulnerabilities. Let's say, why would they target the first site, so service station A, which is down the road from service station B, for example. And then with all of this that we gather and the valuable insights that we try to furnish for our service stations, we provide that back, and we hope to then support the SAPs and law enforcement within our space to make successful arrests and prosecution. So that's from the analytics part, and then we take that further into the collaboration. So with all of this insights, we can do nothing if we don't collaborate with the different role players. So this collaboration does stretch quite far, but we try and develop communication and relationships with SAPs on a national, provincial and station level. And then we also engage with different industry role players. So that would be your service providers, your banking industry, private security as well. And then other industry role players like the Consumer Goods Council. They do what we do, but just for retail risk. And then we take all of this as a nodal point, which is what we are for private security and SAPs. And then we use this in conjunction with our analytics, then to coordinate an intelligence response to whatever is happening within our space. And then taking that a little bit further, we also provide legal support to our prosecuting authorities, and that's just supporting bail hearings and ensuring that bail is opposed, and if that goes to court, that we also assist with that case data.
Got it. So actually it's a huge pooling of various cross-industry data points, which you're a part of. And so I guess the analysis of it is, one, quite a task, but two, I guess it pulls out all kinds of learnings and intelligence that go into this. I mean, we were talking a little bit before we started the podcast recording, and you mentioned that actually, from your perspective, there's a bit of a win going on, and it is work. You know, the efforts are working, and there are less attacks. It's being driven down. Did I get that right? Yeah.
Yes, you did get that right. So to answer your question on the decrease we've been seeing, so obviously the year of 2023 kind of rattled us as the petroleum industry, and I think the banking industry as well. We had a lot of incidents, and then that kind of fostered a big collaboration between all of the role players. And we took, as an industry, together with the banking and service providers, took a supporting role to law enforcement. So we came with our private resources and additional time and cost resources, and we placed that on the table to say, how can we assist for us to then start mitigating the risks that we are facing within the petroleum industry. And since then, we've actually seen a decline from our average number of incidents, which was 0.85 a day in 2023, to 0.6 incidents a day for 2024. And
pretty
this
significant.
It is quite significant. So if we look at, and if we continue on this trajectory, by the end of 2024, we would be seeing a 22% decrease just in our bombing incidents. So that is definitely a win for us. And I think that this collaboration and this decrease we are seeing is also due to the number of arrests that we've been making since the beginning of the year. So a lot of effort and time and resources were deployed to figure out who are the groups and how do they operate, and then driving that intelligence through law enforcement to then affect arrests.
Yeah. And something I'm particularly interested in is something you mentioned earlier, which is you talked about the business owners and the cost, the human cost that is attached to all of these attacks. So obviously driving it down is an amazing thing to do. And but can you talk a little bit about what you know of the impact on business owners or people that are involved, the human cost, if you like?
Yeah, so I think obviously the initial cost would be your direct financial impact. So that is what they target. They target the cash. They target high value goods like BAT products and energy drinks within our fuel retail sites. So that is the first layer of impact, I would say, is that direct cost. After that, you will see the structural damage to the service station sites. And if you refer back to that presentation I did show a little bit of the aftermath of a bombing incident and what the retailers are left with. And that complete site has been destroyed. So there's a lot of operational costs that also come with that. So a little bit of operational downtime. Some of the staff members obviously cannot come onto shift, so that has a salary impact for them as well. And if we go into the larger picture and not keeping it incident specific, I think it has a very large ripple effect, going down to service station reputation as well. Now customers don't feel comfortable going to a service station site anymore. Within South Africa, service stations were always seen as a beacon of light, a place of safety. So if you ever felt uncomfortable, even as a woman, you would drive to a fuel station site, you will stop there. And that perception has changed since that increase in incidents, where people no longer view fuel retail sites as a safe place to go. And that obviously impacts your customer loyalty. And this leads to a whole lot of things like decreased foot traffic, which obviously at the end of the day leads to a decrease in revenue stream for the service stations. And then if we even go further on the long-term implications, I mean, we can talk hours about it, but that feeds back into unemployment rate, because if you don't have a revenue stream, you cannot support your staff members anymore. And that is where we come to the root cause of crime again, is the things like socio-economic hardships that we face in South Africa, and how, especially amongst the youth in South Africa, and how they are now exploring means that gives them quick and lucrative ways of getting out of those hardships. It definitely has a long-term effect on us as a country, not only a direct impact, cash loss, and some psychological trauma faced by the staff members.
Yeah, it's a really interesting topic, the sort of long tail consequences of that kind of crime. I was talking with our producer Jack yesterday, and he was particularly interested in some of the stuff that's going on in America. And his idea basically is that as crime perpetuates, it almost feeds itself, because it's driving people, as you say, into unemployment, and things get harder and harder for them, and they almost, in his estimation, will enter a life of crime themselves, because what are they meant to do? And you're sort of backing that up a little bit, but pointing more towards the disadvantage of youths in South Africa, and they're looking for quick wins, is what you're saying, I think, is what I heard, yeah?
Yeah, and I also think sorry, Matt.
No, you carry on, please.
I also think just on that is, when one system is broken, it influences all the other systems, and I think that is where that ripple effect comes in. And I think you and I also spoke about like the broken window theory. It's one system that's broken, and that feeds into and that implicates all the other systems, and then you end up with this big cycle of crime and violence and unemployment and all of these negative sentiments surrounding what the broken window theory supports. And I think even if we work from the center down outward or from outside inward, you need to start fixing the broken systems for you to then actually see a decrease, a long-term disruptive effect, not only short-term. And then once they fix their own broken system, we just see that crime operating again. So it definitely feeds into itself.
Yeah. A favourite phrase of ours within the team is a rising tide lifts all boats. So if you can fix the broken parts of the system and get everybody on an upward trajectory, it lifts everything. And that's kind of where we are as a team. That's kind of what we want to do. So, I think we're on the same page there, totally. So, looking forward into the future, there's obviously great work being done right now, and that the results of that are being borne out in that reduction that you're experiencing. What does the future look like in this particularly pernicious problem?
So within the PSI space, within the petroleum space, I think our aim will remain to collaborate as much as we can. I think in collaborating, you gain insights that you wouldn't have if you were working in silos. And I think I sound a little bit like a broken record, but that collaboration definitely forms the foundation for whatever efforts we try and implement moving forward. If we have one of the role players not supporting or not engaging in your plan forward, you will just keep being reactive. And I think a big part of the movement would be, once we have our crime down and we have it a little bit deterred at that point in time, is to start seeing as to how we can switch or shift our approach from being reactive to proactive, because currently we are very in the reactive space of things. But again, if there's no collaboration, we will always remain reactive. And I think that is a big thing. And for me, the second part of what is the plan for the future is we need to start creating a shift or forcing a shift within the mindset of South Africa as a collective. We like to blame and complain about the current situation, and this is how crime is, and we normalize it to an extent. But we seldomly take responsibility and accountability and say, as a private sector or as a business, how can I contribute to solving this issue? Whether that is increasing social services or improving youth programs or whatever it is that you would like to support or then contribute to. But we don't do that. We often sit back and place full responsibility and sole responsibility on law enforcement. And we know that they have their own restrictions. So my second aim would be for us to start shifting that mindset to say, how can we support law enforcement rather than criticizing their restrictions? Because that is a reality for us. But how are we supporting them in that role?
Yeah, that's really, really interesting, because it's the sort of thing we also see here where the natural reaction, because there's an issue around retail crime as well. And the natural reaction is, well, the police never get here in time and they don't pay attention to this kind of attack or whatever. And something that we talk about here a lot is that these things are everybody problems, and that what you're talking about collaboration, we're 100% on the same page, because these everybody problems need like an everybody solution. It's not enough to just go, well, the police need to do better. Well, actually, we've all got a part to play, whether it's supply chain, whether it's unfortunately the victims, whether it's the responding authorities. Everyone needs to work together to kind of get the solutions. So yeah, I'm hopeful that because of people like you with this work and the kind of conversations that are going on, that collaboration really starts to get traction and move forward. So really good to hear. Once again, it's been a pleasure to talk with you, Anastasia, and hear about the fascinating and as I said before, frankly shocking kind of thing that you gather data on and then try and work with. I hope that it continues in the vein that it's going, and I'm certain it will. And I believe that we will probably bump into each other maybe in December if you're going to attend Retail Risk again. Will you be there at Cape Town on this occasion?
I will possibly be there. I haven't confirmed yet, but yeah, I'll probably bump into you.
Did you cover off everything did you cover off everything you wanted to, Anastasia?
Yeah. I think for me, it's just the biggest thing is to say, yeah, we do have an issue, but like I mentioned to you, I think as a country, or everyone has this perspective that our crime rate is sky high and we have all of these issues. But I've started seeing with the collaboration, once we shifted our mindset from saying, why isn't SAPS doing this? Why can't they support us? Why we sit with all the analytics, we sit with the intelligence. Why aren't we giving that intelligence to them and say, what do you need from us? So currently our collaboration goes from us providing the analytics and intelligence, then sitting with them and saying, where do you need additional support? And then from an operational perspective, this is where private security comes in, saying, okay, we can deploy choppers if you need it. We have additional TAC units that can be deployed together with your SAPs that's on patrol that night. And I think that's why we are starting to see some of the successes we are. But without that, I don't think we'll ever get far.
That's really interesting, because that was you speaking from the heart there. So that was good.
Of course.
That was good. So once again, I'll just wrap up by saying thank you for joining us on the podcast. It's fascinating to hear about, and look forward to seeing you again in the future.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks for having me.